willing to deal with, because a big part of their business model is keeping all this alive. That is not because of any underlying. I'll give you an example. There's almost no net in-migration from Mexico since 20. About 30,000 or so people show up on our southern border every year. They're almost all from Central America, mostly from Guatemala, Honduras, and Salvador. Those are the states with the weakest internal government structures to protect them from the narco-trafficking that is highly organized and that moves through Central America into the United States. President George W. Bush signed a law that I strongly supported that says that the people who live in those countries who are put in fear of their lives or their children's lives have a right to seek refuge in the United States. But if they live in another part of the same country, which those countries have basically been wrecked economically, and they come here just because they want to make a better living, they, under our law, whether you agree with it or not, under our law, they have to wait with everybody else and apply to get into the country in a more orderly and much more time-consuming and uncertain system. So as the mayor of Brownsville, Texas said, better than I can say the other day, he said, we don't have a border crisis. This is what borders do. We interview all those people. And the ones that seem to have a legitimate case, we know where they live and all that. Before getting in, we let in. The others, we go home. And there's never a reason to divide the children from their parents, ever. This whole thing is a manufactured crisis. So it is difficult to create the conditions in which we work together if the political survival of one side depends on perpetuating the problem. On the other hand, we have no choice but to try. George Bush and I have a presidential leadership scholarship program that I did an event for one of our grads to support it up in Napa the other night, where we deliberately pick people more or less evenly divided by party, race, gender, political orientation, you name it, everything in the world. And they go to 4 presidential libraries, ours and his dad's and Johnson's. They study decisions, and then they see if they can meet, find common ground together. And they're always shocked when they do. They work for 6 months together, 60 people a year. Rising, a lot of people your age, rising in their lives. And in Ireland, you got all these people who fought for years, but they made an agreement, which is the antithesis of what most people are talking about today. The Irish peace process is simply this: majority rule, minority rights, individual rights, shared decision-making, shared economic benefits, and a special relations with the Irish Republic as well as with the United Kingdom. That's it. Those of you who know a lot about this Brexit thing can understand how Brexit could wreck all of this. But it turned out that the most extreme of the Irish unionists, Ian Paisley, who's now passed on the award, became unusually close to a guy who was once one of the enforcers for the IRA, Martin McGuinness, whose funeral I spoke at in Dublin a year or so ago, because they trusted them. It was like Arafat looking into Rabin's eyes. Rabin owned them in the peace process, not in a bad way. That is, people own you like that way if you just totally trust them, right? But somehow we have to get that back. Because if you scratch almost any person, there's actually a human being down there somewhere. And so, I know we're out of time. I'll give you my last example of this. In Rwanda, in 1994, approximately 10% of the country was was killed in 90 days. Most of them were cut to pieces by machetes. Some of them were burned to death by necklacing, which is a favorite tactic in Haiti of a previous military dictatorship. They put a tire around your neck, pour oil on it, and set it afire. Hillary and I went there in 1998, and I told them that I owed them an apology because I didn't intervene soon enough. And if we had sent maybe even as few as 10,000 troops there early, we might could have saved a third of the loss. But we were involved in Bosnia in '94. I was trying to get into Bosnia. And I'm embarrassed to say we never even had a meeting about whether we should do it. So I was there, a person who needed forgiveness. As the president, I said, I have done what I could to clean the camps up, and I will help you start again. And I have for 19 years or 18 years since I've been out of the White House. My foundation has a large presence there in healthcare and economic problems. But anyway, I asked to meet with survivors of the genocide. And it was a very interesting group, remarkably free of anger or recrimination or the kind of resentment that so dominates our politics today in America. And the last person who talked was a woman who didn't seem to have anything wrong with her. Like there was a guy that had his arm cut off by a machete and still worked for peace. This woman had no visible scars on her. And she proceeded to say, when the violence started, our family, my husband and 6 children and I, were betrayed by our neighbors because they were of a different ethnic group. And they were afraid. So when basically the Hutus came through and started killing all the Tutsis and their friends, they came after us, people we celebrated holidays with. And she said, several hours later, I woke in a pool of my own blood to see my husband and 6 children lying dead around me. And I realized that I must have been spared for something, and it couldn't be something as petty as vengeance. So I do what I can to help us begin again. And she was placing war orphans in homes without regard to their ethnic benefit, their ethnic ties. Fast forward. So I go to Rwanda when I left office, and I ride with a cab driver, one of the reporters from one of the American newspapers taking a ride with a cab driver in Kigali. The captain said, well, don't you resent Clinton coming here because he didn't come in and stop this? And the cab driver said, no. He said, why? He said, because he's the only one, first, he's the only one that apologized for not helping. And second, he is helping, we need help. And thirdly, we did this to ourselves, we have some responsibility here. We can't blame the rest of the world for stopping us from acting like crazy people. But it was very interesting. There was this deliberate attempt to focus on the future. So, when I was there the second time, I had helped them finish their genocide museum. If you think we have it tough now, or you ever start feeling sorry for yourself, and you ever find yourself in Central Africa, and go to the museum commemorating the Rwandan genocide, it is the bones of 300,000 people whose loved ones carried them there to be interred because they don't have traditional embalming. And the nice little exhibit shows you what happened. So I got shown through by this handsome young guy who looked like somewhere between a movie star and an MBA at Harvard. But amazing. And I said, did you lose anybody in genocide? He said, yeah, 73 people. I said, what? He said, yeah, if you stop at my first cousins, 73. My parents, brother, aunt, and uncle, first cousin, 73. And I said, this must be horrible for you giving me this tour. He said, no. He said, It's therapeutic. He said, the president says we have to absorb this so that we can free ourselves up and begin again. And I said, you know, you remind me of a woman I met when I first came here. I told him the story about the woman losing her husband and 6 children. He smiled and he said, I should. She's my aunt. There's a woman in Rwanda that lost 7 of her 10 children and her husband. And as a widow at 50 had to begin again. Her 3 children lived only because they were in the military. They were older when all the slaughter started. First, she started training other women without regard to ethnic groups. She started a basket weaving company with a woman from that other tribe. And first they trained other women, then they started training men. One day a young man asked to see her. And he said, you've been so wonderful to me. You've given me something to do. You've given me a skill. But I can't live with myself anymore. I murdered one of your children. And she said, tell me what happened. He told her what happened. And he said, I did it. I'm ashamed of it. It was awful. And I know you have 3 sons in the military. So send for one of them to come and kill me. And I will work for you every day until he arrives. And what would you do as a lady? And she said, what good would that do? I forgive you. Get up and go back to work. Could you do that? One of the problems all of you have to face is that you can't get even in life ever. Should people be held accountable when they do something wrong? Yes. We have to make these judgments all the time? Yes. But somehow we have to move beyond resentment to rebuilding, to reconciliation, to inclusive tribalism. And I see all this fighting going on around the world. It breaks my heart. Because I know that, you know, some of you are European. Europe just beat the living hell out of the United States in the Ryder Cup yesterday. That's fine. That's a zero-sum game. We like that. You know, somebody wins the soccer World Cup every few years. But economics and social policy work better as positive sum games. This whole blockchain deal has the potential it does only because it is applicable across national borders, income groups. The permutations and possibilities are staggeringly great. But we could ruin it all by negative identity politics and economic and social policy. So you think about that. You take a little time to think about that, because your whole future and the kids that you either have or may someday have are dependent on it.
Mr. President, from blockchain to the border, to Bosnia, to the Mideast, to these final thoughts on hope and reconciliation for the future, that was a tour de force. Thank you so much.
I want to say just one other thing, because this applies to all of you. Bad thing about being a politician is sometimes you get blamed for things that aren't your fault. But that is more than offset by the fact that most of the credit you get is for something somebody else did. And this guy is Exhibit A, so you're very fortunate to have him, because people thought I had lost my mind when I said we were going to repeal trickle-down economics, go back to old-fashioned investment policy, investment budgeting, and try to balance the budget and keep interest rates down and grow the economy. And I couldn't have done it if it hadn't been for Gene Sperling. And there are several people like him without whom I would have been an abject failure as president. So if you run a company, even if you just got 4 or 5 employees, the chances are there are several people like that that work for you. Don't miss the chance to tell them every now and then, because that also is a part of positive sum growth, non-zero sum growth. I love this guy. And he nearly worked himself to death. I'm glad he survived to have a family and a life where he makes a lot more money with a lot less stress.
Well, that was fantastic. Thank you, President Clinton. Thank you, Gene Sperling. I learned a few things there, not the least of which is how to shake hands without kissing. In all seriousness, one of the themes, we heard a lot of powerful stories there, and one of the themes that overrides all of what we're doing here at SWELL, you'll see written on various publications, it says, be connected. What I take away from listening to them is how connected we all are, and how by working together, how much good we can do for the world. 2 other quick themes. Don't kill the golden goose. President Clinton talked about some of the things that happened in the earliest days of the internet. Globally, one of the things I have enjoyed doing over the course of the last year is traveling the world and talking to regulators, talking with regulation as well as policy and elected officials, talking about the benefits that can be derived from using blockchain technology, but working within the system. Last but not least, change takes a grassroots movement. President Clinton talked about the Parkland shooting and the impact that that movement has started to have. The change we're trying to drive in changing the way payments work and the impacts, both on a secondary and tertiary impacts those can have, are truly profound. And I thank all of you for being part of that movement that we're driving here at Ripple. All right, you're going to hear more about all this later today and tomorrow in lots of different ways and how we're driving these things forward. But for now, I am told to make sure you all know, lunch is going to be served on the lower level. We're going to reconvene here in about 1 hour, and we'll certainly make an announcement. But thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you the rest of the week, the next couple days. Thank you.